Hello and welcome to today's video. We're going to be looking at how to support home learning in schools now that we're in unprecedented times. My name is Mark Ashton and I'd like to introduce my colleague Neha Ullah.
Hi everyone, I'm Neha Ullah. Like Mark said, I'm a key account manager and I will be supporting Mark on this video. So we know a lot of schools are thinking about using their website to put work that children need to complete during this time. We do think that the downfall of using that is that you don't actually get visibility to see what who's downloaded it and who's done what work. So we actually think itslearning in that sense is a lot easier in the sense that you can see who's downloaded what work, when they downloaded it, what work they've submitted and how long they've spent on it. You also of course get messaging tools. It's very easy to use, easy to manage, easy to update and very secure. What do you think about that, Mark?
I entirely agree. I think it gives everybody visibility and people don't have to print off tons of stuff as well when at a time when they might not be able to get paper actually. So I agree wholeheartedly.
Today's agenda is actually very simple. We will give you a very quick overview of the platform and some of the features that we think would be great to use at a time like this. We'll be talking quite a bit about the communication tool, especially mass messaging, showing you how that works. Within the messaging tool you have teacher to student communication, teacher to teacher communication, teacher to parent communication, which we think with everything going on right now is very important to keep the parents updated. We also think it will be quite good for schools to allow children to children communication through messages. It is a very secure site, so we think it's a great opportunity for children to be able to communicate with their peers, especially since they won't see them face to face. We also have a discussion tool which can be used within a classroom environment. We'll then go on to talk about course features and different approaches that you could use, how to create pages and courses very quickly and easily, how to use these as templates, and then we'll go into a bit more detail about how to link these and tree link these to be able to make the communication and navigation very simple for these children, how to assign tasks and assignments, a bit about parental engagement. As we said about the visibility, like Mark mentioned, we'll show you how to do the 360 reports and the login reports so you can track who's used it, who hasn't. We do have a mobile app, so we will show you some screenshots of what the app looks like. It's very easy to download. You just simply type in itslearning onto the platform and onto the Android or Apple Play, and you can find it and download it. We are using Zoom for this session, so we'll show you how you could get Zoom into the platform at a very small cost, and how it can be easy to navigate around and how it could be easy to use for things like screen recording or, for example, teaching an online classroom.
So let's take a look at one of our sites, and what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of the key features of the learning platform that are going to make it really useful while the children are away from school and you're conducting home learning. So the first thing is when you land on the site, one of the things that can be very useful is the group page, the dashboard. Here, for instance, we have an information tool that is going to allow you to create messages that will arrive both on the platform and on the mobile app for different users. For instance, if I click to add news, you can see that I can add a title, I can add a description, but crucially, that message is only visible to the profiles that you want to see the message. So for instance, messages could just be for the students while they're off, and they can be published now, or you can actually set a specific time. There are other ways of messaging through the system. Another way of messaging is through the messaging tool. In here you'll see that we have the regular messaging. If I click on new, that will allow me to choose people through their courses. So for instance, I could get a message to all of the staff. Alongside that, we also have a tool called mass messaging, which is available either through admin or if you click here for mass messaging. And the mass messaging tool will allow us to send to a whole hierarchy all at the same time. So here, for instance, I can say, right, okay, I'm going to choose my school and I'm going to send this message to everybody. So that will send it to all of the users that have been set up on the system. Here is my message. So it could be something very simple. Remember, Friday is our last day for everyone officially. And then send. That then tells me how many people it's going to send it to, and crucially that immediately goes to the messaging tool up here. Alongside that, we also have a number of tools that are going to be very useful. We'll go into the calendar a little bit later. That's going to be very useful because, for instance, you could set up a calendar for the parents and everything could be available for them through the calendar. We're also going to have a look at the library as well. The library is super useful because in it there are resources that we can use. So say I wanted something on volcanoes, I can then find something on volcanoes and I can give this to my class. Now, we're going to use the library as well in order to set up a course. So the library has got very many uses and we will endeavour to show some of those a little bit later. So that was a quick overlook of the platform. The key for me though is that it is collaborative. It means that there is two-way communication going on and there are different ways of achieving that, and we can set up areas where different users on your system can access the materials that they need to access. The next thing we're going to have a look at, we're going to look at how to create one of these areas for your users, and we're going to set it up really quickly just so that we can show how easy it is. And we're going to first of all just have a look at what can be achieved. So I'm just going to show you a few of my different areas, so just so that you can see them. So the first thing is we have a classroom, so something that is very easy to edit. It has materials on that the children might need. You'll see that it has links to homework. It has a page for parents so that we can put materials on for the parents and our subjects, and it may even allow us to share photos so that we don't all feel so isolated. So the platform itself can do lots of things, and for those of you who have not used it before, you can see it's super simple to move things around.
These objects are called content blocks and we can move them around very easily, and
all we have to do, if we are the teacher, in order to edit something, we just click on the pencil. That will allow us to edit that particular container, the particular block. So let's have a look at another one. So we have one for children that we could use, and this one I'll show you how to set this one up a little bit later. We have one where we're making things available for staff, and in this one you'll notice that we've got messages for a particular purpose, and calendar. So this one is actually using what's called the overview page, and that is really easy to create. This is the default view. So here we have something that first of all is set up primarily so that users can have a staff diary, and that diary is available through the calendar. And to create something like that, super simple, just click on add, and that will allow you to create that course directly. We're going to have a look at how to create the first course in a moment, but I'd just like to show you some shots of different classes so that you're aware of what is achievable and what isn't.
This is an example of one of our governors pages. As you can tell, the platform isn't just for students, it could also be used for governors. This is where we put the dates, calendars, where the governing full governing body, attainment body, resources body, health and safety body, relevant governor information, or a governor handbook goes in there. You could put the policies in there. Similar to other sort of resource folders, you have the relevant different folders available, and then within the folder you put in the resources or the documents that you need to. The dates can quite easily link back to the calendar as well. This is a demo of a parent page, a parent course on here. So as you can see, this has a bit of information from the head teacher. So that's where the head could probably talk about how she feels about the school closure, about what the school's looking to do, and how the school's going to be supporting children. Towards the right, we've got some relevant information about what's going on at the minute. So things like e-safety information, World Book Day, which happened a little while ago. A little bit further down, we've got information such as the Parents Handbook. We've got term dates as well, and that's a really good thing to have now, because as children are already at home, parents would be able to know when term has actually ended and more work wouldn't be provided. There's also information here about Parents' Evening that you can put in and do parent booking, which you might remember from the webinar a few weeks ago. Newsletters that the school could produce and put into the platform straight away, and then obviously relevant links as well. We do always encourage a discussion, so we've got a discussion here for parents so the parents can get involved and stay up to date about what's going on. So here we have another example. This is a staff resources room, so this is the staff front page. Again, similar to the governor's room, every one of these icons links through to a resources folder. So you've got planning, where all the planning takes place, timetables, rotas, etc., as you can see on here. This is going to be very, very useful for teachers while working from home, because they've got all the resources they need within the platform. It also means that they can go into this as their landing page as well. If they've got any information that they need to update, they could do it through here. And especially the planning folder, I think that would be really useful in this kind of crisis, because they can see what plans they've got, share plans, and also communicate with other teachers on this. Also just want to mention that you could use the staff resources course to be able to send out notification and bulletins to staff members. Similar to a physical notice board, you could use a virtual notice board. If there is anything that you see throughout this video that you're quite interested in, please do get in touch with myself or Mark or your account manager.
Okay, so we're going to create a course from scratch, and we're going to do it for the children, and we're going to use the library so that we can just show you how quick it is. So the first thing is I click on add, and that will allow me to add the course. So I'm going to call this green class. Obviously the colour is blue, so I'm going to choose green. There we go. That means then my diary will be green. Just a small thing, but we are going to be creating this for the children, so it makes sense for us to follow the theme. And we're going to click on save. Now when you land, the default view is this overview page. Now, for me, for younger learners, that's not ideal. It's not the most entertaining, and for younger learners, we need it to be more graphical. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a page in here. Now, just to show you that you're not on your own,
we're going to add a previously made resource from the library, and we're going to try and develop all of these resources so things can be quickly made.
I've gone into, first of all, resources, and I'm going to click add. And what I'm going to add is something from the library that we looked at a little bit earlier, and I'm going to grab a page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a page called Classroom Icons. And I'm going to add it to my course. You'll notice that I can also have a look at a resource. So if I'm looking at the library, I can also view the resource before I add it. In this case, I'm just going to add my classroom icons. So my classroom icons are going to do a job for me, because what they're going to do is they're going to point to different pages so that I can link them. You'll notice that the class has got a name. Obviously what we would do is edit it. The key thing is here, at the moment, this is being controlled by the library. So these three dots here, they just allow me to create my own copy. That's really important before I do anything. So we've created our own copy, and now what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you how to make some of these pages and show you how to link. I'm not going to do it for all of them. So let's create a page. Now to do that, first of all, I'll click on the add sign and click on page. So this is going to allow me to create a topic page. Again, click on the add sign, perhaps have a page for maths challenges. So there are my two pages. Now we're going to make sure then that we have linked maths and our topic to their pages. So again, super simple. What we do is we go into the template. Remember, we're green class, so we'll change it to green class. I'm going to scroll down, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to link our topic page to this icon. So in effect the picture is going to be a button. So click on the icon, and then I'm going to scroll up a bit just so that you can see the editor. Now here in the editor there are two ways of linking, but the one that you're going to need for this particular purpose, if you're going to then roll this out to other classes, for instance, the one that I would recommend is this one here, which is the tree link. And remember, we're doing things fast as well, so this is the quickest way. So here, the tree link will allow me to link to anything that I have put in resources. So we're linking our topic to topic page. I click on it. Incidentally, if you're linking to a folder, just make sure that you stay on this side, because if you stay on this side you may go into the folder, if that makes sense. So stay on this side, click, you'll get a tick, and then that will allow you to link to a page or a folder. So for instance, our gallery, that could be linked to a folder. Okay, so click on OK. Super quick. That then is linked to a page. And to get back, I can either click on the back arrow up here, or I can click on my first page, which is called Classroom Icons. If I prefer that to be called something else, just click and edit it. So it could be my front page or welcome page. Simple. So now we've very quickly made a course for our students. So super easy, and all I need to do then is if I have other classes, I can copy from it. Just remember that you don't want to develop this. If this is going to be in effect a template for other classes, don't develop it too much. Perhaps link the pages. You must use the tree link if you're going to do that. And then if I want to create another course, say I wanted a red course, I'd click on add. Here's my red course. And I'm going to copy from an existing course. I have to browse for the template, and if you remember, the one we just created is green class. I'm going to choose that, and now I have two copies. Sorry, I have two working classrooms. It takes a little while. You'll see that it's resolving itself. It'll take a little while for it to happen, but we then have a red course and a green course. So there's, I'll go into it, that's still resolving. So green class, eventually that will be the right course. Now, one of the things that are really important is we need to make sure that the page that we have just made is our front page, and this is the tricky bit. On the right hand side there is this drop down menu. We're going to go into the course settings, course properties and features. We're just going to make sure, I'm going to zoom down a little bit. We need to find the section that says start page, and we want that to be our welcome page. Ideally we need to do that before we copy, because now I'm going to have to do that in red class as well. But here's the difference. If I go into green class, that takes me to a page, whereas the red class, the one that I've just copied, that takes me to the overview page. Now, I definitely know, working with the younger children, which one I would prefer. It's definitely this one. So, a few things to have a think about. Now, we're going to set up a parental course, and we're going to go through some of those things again. So, I'm going to go to the courses, click on add, and I'm going to create a parental course. The platform can feed your parents onto it automatically if you have MIS integration, but I think for ease of use you're probably better off creating a generic user. So nice and simple, put that parent into the course, and I think probably parental information might be more pertinent. And I'm just going to make sure that this is a regular one, so I'm going to start from scratch, so it's regular, and then click on save. So a parental course, in this one I'm going to start from a blank page. So the way to do it is, again, if I'm adding a page to the system, click on resources, click on add a page. So again, this could be our welcome page, and we need this to be the first thing that the parents see. So to do that, I'm going to go into the settings, so on this drop down menu, course properties and features, and if you remember, start page is the welcome page. How quick was that? Very quick. So the parents are here. The last thing for us to do is to put our parents into the room. So if you have created a generic user on the system, just click on add, search for that user. Now just be careful, they are a parent on the system, so you need to make sure that their profile is ticked, and that's going to allow me to look for any parents on the system. I might have to choose where I'm looking. There we go. So I have a number of parents. Perhaps this one is my generic one, and then select the role. Parents are going to guess, they just need to see the page. There, simple. That then is set up for all of the parents. So that super quick. So things can be achieved very, very quickly on the system.
So we're now going to show you how to create some activities that you could use for the children within a course. So this is a Egyptian course. It's dedicated solely to the topic of Egyptians. Within here you can put in relevant content and information. You could put pictures, you could put quizzes, you could also create some discussion forums so the children could get talking to one another, create relevant tasks, assignments, put videos. Depending on the age of the children, you might want to tree link the images through to the relevant work that they need to do. So if there's a worksheet available, for example, on Egyptian life, you might link that through to it. All the work that you create in there, all the tasks you create and activities, they all sit in the resources folder, which you can see here. They could either go into subfolders or you could just put them out. Like we said, you'll tree link them through from the first page to go through into here. Especially when they're quite young, it becomes difficult for them to be able to go into resources and find the relevant work. Within here you can also add any resources that you think might be relevant for the children to use. Any sort of homework that they might want to do, you just click on add, and as you can see here there are a number of different activities and resources you can add on. Things like tasks, assignments, surveys, discussions, which is what we're going to show you how to do now. Once you're in the discussion forum, all you have to do is just click on adding a title. You could call that whatever you want. In this case we've called it obviously the Egyptian discussion. You then just create some text that you need. Do remember, you don't have to just use the discussion forum for classrooms. You could also use it for staff communication, for parents. Discussions could be used pretty much for anything, and it's just simply clicking to add a discussion. It works quite well to get parents involved as well. In discussions you do have the messaging tool that you can send out, which is more one-to-one, and it sits in their messaging folder as it does here, but discussions are quite separate in the sense that they'll sit within the course. And obviously once you've added a discussion title, you put in your main body, so whatever it is that you wish to discuss, you'll put that in there. It is similar to a rich content block, so you can add pictures and images in there if you wanted to, add any other sources in there, but with primary schools it might be easier just to keep it quite simple on what needs to be discussed in there. Towards the top you can obviously put your title, which can be linked to anything. In the main body you'll put your text, which in most cases would probably just be standard text that you put in. Towards the bottom you can change whether it's active or not. In this case we're going to leave it active, and then you just click save, and then your discussion's ready.
So here is my discussion. Now this is the bit where if you have the very young children, I would do things slightly different, because this is a conversation area. You can have all sorts of different conversations going on about this particular subject. So if it was about the Egyptians, for instance, we could have one conversation about the tomb builders, we could have another conversation about the Egyptian gods, we could have another conversation about the geography of Egypt and how the Nile introduces lots of different concepts into this particular subject. But in my case, if for instance I just want say something like great websites about Egyptians, and perhaps I was working with the younger users, I might just link to just one of those conversations. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. So in here, so it might be we've got an Egyptian web quest. And in our forum we're just going to collate really good websites on the ancient Egyptians. So please can you search for Egyptian websites. I probably should be more prescriptive about that. Looking for the ancient Egyptians in this case. And then click on save. Now, when we look at this, you'll see here is my conversation about Egypt. When I go into it, I can then see what the conversation is about, and I will see each learner like this. Here's one I did earlier, so you can have a better look at it. So here I've got my conversation, and the first student has replied. So you get the idea. This is what the thread is going to look like. Now, for some people, actually linking to the thread is going to be a better way of doing things. To do that, copy this shortcut here. If you wanted to go to the whole discussion, then what we'll do is tree link to this one here. So a couple of ways of doing things, but just so that you're aware. Okay, so that's Egyptian discussions. So next thing, we're going to have a look at how to set homework and what the difference is between the homework tools.
Here we're going to look at a few different homework tools that are available. As you can see, we clicked on add and it brings us back to this page where you've got things like assignments, tasks, surveys, all available. They can all be used and linked back to a homework, which we'll show you how to do in a little while. We're going to start with tasks and show you how you could use a task. So the thing is, with a task, there's no work that needs to be sent back. You can put comments in there and you can turn around and say that it's been completed. So if on here, once you click in, you put in the title that you want to do. So it's always important to keep these titles unique and not just leave them blank. So not just having task 1, task 2, for example, especially while the children are at home. It will be a good chance for them to understand what they need to do. So you could number it, you could date it, or talk about the different topics that they need to do. In the box afterwards, you just write a brief description about what it needs to be. This could be something like read a chapter in a book, complete a drawing, do a worksheet. Further down, you decide whether there's a deadline or not, so you could do a specific time or at the end of a particular day, or you could decide that there's no deadline at all. If it's a specific time, it could be that you want it done by the end of, say, the class day. So the lesson might finish at 2 o'clock, so you want it done by 2 o'clock. But in this case, we're going to say no deadline. It is very, very key, though, that you tick the fact that the task is a homework. This then feeds back to the app, so it is always worth ticking this box to show that it's a homework. It also comes up on the parent app. On show more information, you've got other options, so you can add a file. So for example, if you need to read a chapter, you could add the chapter in there, and then further down you could always just click save and add other features if you needed to. Here you see the overview page, so you can see all the children there have been set the homework. The toggle completed yes or no, the children can complete that as well, or a parent can, or the teacher can if the teacher knows the children have done it. If the children want to complete, write any comments, they can do at the bottom as well. It's a really good way to keep track of what the children have done and what they haven't. So now we're going to go back to the add feature and show you how to add an assignment tool and create that as a homework as well. Then we'll show you how to link that to the front page through tree links. So on here you've got assignments. Now assignments is used when you want the children to submit something back. So this could be a document or answers, any sort of that stuff like that you want them to submit back. For example, what you would do is you would click on it, you'll put a title. Again, it is very important to make sure you put a title that's quite unique, especially while children are working at home. So in the description box, you'll tell them what they need to do. So it might be feedback they need to do. Since the first homework was to read a book, then they might have to do feedback after that. Towards the bottom you see add files. This is where you might put the files that they need to complete. On the more options thing, gives you it similar to rich content block. It gives you other features. You could add things like YouTube videos, etc., which is really easy. So if we go into YouTube now, apologies you can't actually see the URL, but I'm sure you can understand how that bit works. We're going to ask them to watch the chocolate cake video, and from there they're going to give feedback. So we just open up chocolate cake, and then we just copy the URL, take it back to the It's Learning platform, and click on the embed link. You just copy and paste it into there. Quite simply, click insert, and it comes up on there for you. So we're just going to show you that again. It's just the embed video just there. The link's quite simple to use. Just paste it in there and click insert, and it takes you straight away. And then it's available there for the children to watch and comment on. Comes up on the homework for them, and they could watch the video while it's in the platform. Further down, like I said, further down is the add files. This is where you can put a worksheet that you maybe want them to complete. Make sure you tick that it's homework again so that it appears on the app. Put a deadline similar to the task if you wanted to. You've got more options here, such as self-assessment and peer assessment. So peer assessment does require a deadline. It's not something that we do recommend for the younger children, but you might want to give that a go while they're at home. Of course it needs a deadline to have peer assessment, so if I put a deadline in, it would ungrey itself and I'll be able to tick that box. But you can do self-assessment. Click create an assignment, and then you get the assignment feature come up, assignment completed come up. So on here you can see the children that have done their, you'll see the children that have done their work or haven't done their work. Of course you can see that on here I just left it as homework, but it's quite easy to edit. You just click on the pencil and put homework 2. So this page here is quite easy to use. And like we said before, it means you can see the visibility of who's completed it and who hasn't as children complete it. Now we're going to take you back to the home page and show you how to link this through the home page so children can navigate quite easily.
That's my front page, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how to add and link to something super quick. So I'm going to go to add a rich content block. Most of the blocks you add to a page will be rich content, and this is going to allow me to add a homework block perhaps, and I'm going to link that to the things that I have put inside the folder. So I'm going to go click on the tree link again. You can use this one, but you have to remember if you're going to do it like that, and it can be useful because it can open things up in a brand new window. You must remember to go into resources, right click, copy the link before you start. So if you click on the link tool, it's expecting that you to copy and paste the link in. So you can do that with the thread. So for instance, right click on the thread, copy its shortcut, paste it here. So that would work really well for that. Otherwise, the tree link tool is super useful because it does it quicker. So here I can go to homework 1, that's my first homework, and you'll notice that if I do it like that, it even labels it for me. So if I go to the tree link, homework 2. If it was the younger children, I would have a picture and I would link that to the homework and discussion. You'll notice that I don't see the thread when I use this tool, so if you want to copy to the thread for the younger children, right click on it, copy its shortcut and use this one instead. Click on OK. So again, making things available very quick for users.
So obviously now that we've shown you how to do homework, shown how to tree link it through, you of course, like we've said at the start, you need to be able to see visibility of who's logged in, what work they've done, how long for, etc. So we're now going to show you how to use the 360-degree reports. So here is a 360-degree report. Apologies, as it is a demo site, there's not a lot of activity, but here is the latest activity for the last 7 days, as long as they've spent at least a minute on there. You do also have progress report, which tells you what they've completed. If you go into an individual user, you could then see what they've done, the resources they've accessed, how much time they've spent on it, whether they've completed it or not as well. You also, if you go to the top, you also then have activities per user. So in here, again, you can't see a lot because this is only a demo site, but you can see when they logged in, how long they logged in for. You could also see an overview of the activity as well. It's a good idea to give you, to see how long a student has spent on there and what they've completed, when they have, what they've downloaded, things like that. You do also have participants within a course, and in the participants tab you can actually see the last time they visited. So if you click on the last visit button, it actually puts it in order of when someone last visited, and you can see who they are. It's a good way to keep track of making sure someone's visited, and you don't have something like someone not visiting for a week or 2 weeks, etc.
You can see that making things available to the students while they're out of school is very quick, and we can modify things very quickly.
So of course we've talked about how you could use the discussion forum for communications and getting children involved with one another. You can also use the messaging tool to increase communication between students and staff, etc. Mark is just going to run through the features on how to use that and how to set it up on the admin side of things.
I'm just going to go into admin, and I'm just going to show you that it's super easy to tailor messaging on the system. I'm going to scroll right down to the bottom, and you can see that these are the messaging abilities of staff, students and guests. So I can see that for the main part, my staff, students and guests got the ability to communicate across the whole site at the moment. So I'm just going to show you how to change things, because it's possible for you to set up different ways of communicating. For instance, your students at the moment, so this is their profile, the students, they can communicate to staff, they can communicate to other students, they can communicate to guests. So if you wanted to, you can change that and just make the communication available. You don't have to go right down to the bottom, actually, it's here. So this section here, first of all, it allows you to search for individuals, and this section here allows you to tailor the conversation. So it could be that your students not really allowed to search for anybody on the system, which makes sense, and perhaps you only want them to have conversations with staff. So we would untick those. It means then that they can only communicate with the teachers on the system. We'd untick this one as well, so we don't want them to talk to members of their own courses and projects. And now they can reply to staff, but they cannot search for them, and they cannot start the conversation. So nice and quick to tailor that, but you may need an admin to do it. Neha and I are going to make sure that we give you our emails at the end of the webinar, and we'll make sure that if you need to, you can get in touch with us. Obviously as well, there's the support number as well, but setting things up like this, again, very quick. So just be aware that if there are all conversations already going on, the system will then say, well, actually we're going to make these read only because you've changed the permissions, and that's for me, that's fine. So I would actually do that, make the previous conversations read only and click on OK, and then you have lowered the level of communication for the students, but actually that might not be a bad thing. So just be aware that changing the level, but it does mean then that you can have, if you set up parents, you can set up communication from parent to teacher, you can have student to teacher, student to student, etc., etc. So just be aware that all of those conversations are possible, and all of those communications can be turned off if you want to. So have a think about tailoring communication on the system. It is going to be important, and that will be through this tool up here.
The final feature we want to discuss is the mobile app. So like I said at the start, this is available on both Android and Apple. Very easy to find, and it can be used almost the same way as the actual web version can be. So it could be used for announcements and news. You can also use it from the calendar feature. Once you put homework in there and you tick the homework box, it comes through on the app as well as a notification, as long as notifications are turned off. You could manage content on there, so children can actually do their work on there and use some of the features on there as well. It's a great way to send messages. So if you're sending messages, it will come through on the app, and the children, teachers, parents, they can all respond through the app without having to go elsewhere. There are a lot of features that let you then open it in Safari if you needed to. Just one thing to point out, with Apple on the app, the menu bar is at the bottom, as you can see in the iPad here, whereas on an Android device it's actually at the top. That's the only major difference between whether you use it on Apple or Android, otherwise it's pretty much all the same.
Neha and I would like to say thank you very much for watching, and we'd like to wish you as well at the moment as well, because obviously these are unprecedented times, and we want to make sure that you take care of yourselves. We've put our emails at the bottom, so please do get in touch.
Do keep an eye out for emails coming from us as well. We will be putting a lot of content in the library and sending you updates about them, so do keep a lookout for them and get in touch, like Mark said, if you have any questions. Just hope everyone stays safe.